Chapter 6 The Blythe Girls, Helen, Margie, and Rose by Laura Lee Hope. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 6 Miss
Got
Pepper.
what?
Got what? Cried Helen and Rose, as they literally fell upon Margie and dragged her into the kitchen, bombarding her with questions. Got a position, you sillies, Margie retorted, halfway between laughter and tears. What did you suppose I meant? The plague or something? You will have something worse than the plague if you don't tell us about it in a hurry, threatened Rose wildly. Are you going to tell us what sort of job you got, or have I got to drag it out of you? Stop shaking me, you bad little thing, cried Margie, pushing the girl into a chair and taking Helen's hand in both of hers. I've got a position with the cutest, crankiest, dearest, awfulest little old lady you ever saw. Now I know she's crazy, said Rose with a helpless glance at Helen, but Margie interrupted impatiently. You are the crazy one. I never was more sane in my life. Listen. Margie leaned forward, her dancing eyes on the two eager girls. Do you remember that ad I told you I was going to answer only as a last resort? The one for the social secretary? Asked Helen, a little breathlessly. Margie nodded. I didn't think that sort of thing was exactly in my line, and I don't know that it is yet, she continued. But I told myself I couldn't afford to overlook anything, so I went up to Miss Pepper's address on Riverside Drive. Yes, they breathed impatiently. A butler let me in. Oh, dear's the stunningest butler you ever saw, right out of a storybook. He even dropped his H's. Just fancy, a butler, murmured Rose in awe. She won't be speaking to us next. He took me right upstairs and announced me, Margie continued, her mirth brimming again. You've no idea how little and shabby I felt. I thought of my poor old year before last's blue suit, made over and dyed, and I wanted to sink right through the floor. I'm sure I should have, marveled Rose, and Margie rushed on, intent upon her narrative. The sharpest kind of a voice in the room beyond said, Show the young lady in, Oliver. Imagine that great big fat thing with the three chins being called Oliver. Like the trick bear named Hazel, murmured Rose, and Margie turned laughing eyes upon her. Exactly, only more foolish, she agreed. You would have to see Oliver to appreciate the joke. Anyway, he let me in, and then I did feel as though I would sink through the floor. You interest me strangely, proclaimed the irrepressible Rose. This Miss Pepper must be a man-eater. Rose, such slang, murmured Helen, but Margie took no heed of either of them. She isn't a bit terrifying, really, just a little old lady with gray hair drawn back in a fierce sort of a knot at the back of her head, and with horn-rimmed spectacles that made her look like an owl. What a lovely picture, murmured Rose, and Margie grinned at her. It has to be seen to be appreciated, she said. Helen urged her on impatiently. But what did she say to you? She insisted. Margie chuckled. Nothing at first, only looked. And I thought that one look was going to put me out on the street and farther from a job than ever. I never have been looked at so disapprovingly before. If I had been some stray cat that had wandered in when Oliver left the door open, she couldn't have looked more disgusted. Horrid old thing! Exclaimed Rose indignantly. What right has she? No, I won't have you abusing her, Margie interrupted with a chuckle. She is the dearest old thing ever, and really quite agreeable, once she found out I wasn't a book agent. She thought I was at first, you know. And Margie began to laugh at the recollection. She said, after staring at me suspiciously for fully 5 minutes, Well, what is it this time? Bolshevistic Russia or Home Rule in Ireland? Imagine! Cried Rose delightedly. Didn't you think she was mad? Margie nodded. For fully 5 minutes I was sure of it, she said. My one idea was to escape to the safety of the street. Then I understood that she took me for a book agent and became myself once more. Did she ask you if you had any experience? Put in the quiet Helen. The very first thing, admitted Margie, with a pained expression. The very sound of that question made me so sick I thought I was going to faint. I shouldn't wonder if she thought so too, for she called to Oliver to push forward a chair. I happened to look at his face while he was doing it, and he looked so funny I thought I should scream. Imagine Oliver of the Three Chins setting a chair for a poor nobody like me, with her year before last suit on her back and the dust of the street on her shoes. He didn't like it, I can tell you." "Pity about him!" exclaimed Rose indignantly. "I'd like to tell that dancing bear what I think of him." "You never would," chuckled Margie. "One look at him and you would be scared to death." Rose snorted her scorn at this prophecy, and Helen urged Margie on, impatient for the rest of the story. "But what made her take you when you hadn't any experience?" "Don't ask me. She was sorry for me, I guess," Margie responded ruefully. "Anyway, after she had asked me a peck of questions and found out just how ignorant I was, she snapped, as though she was awfully mad about something. 'All right, you'll do. Report for duty, bag and baggage, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.' That's one of the funny things about her. She keeps leaving out words all the time, as though she were writing a telegram and every extra word cost money." "8 o'clock!" gasped Rose. "But how much are you going to get?" asked Helen, not so much interested in the eccentricities of Miss Pepper as she was in the details of this good fortune that had come to them. "Did she tell you?" "She did, and I almost fell over dead," replied Margie. "Listen, my children, and you shall hear. This darling old lady, this fairy godmother in surprise, is going to pay me $30 a week. To start, mind you, to start." "And for the finish, the sky's the limit," murmured Rose fervently. "Catch me, somebody! I'm going to faint." It's all wonderful," said Helen, and her voice shook a little in the blessed relief from gnawing anxiety and fear. "It seems too good to be true." "Well, it is true, every bit of it," said Margie briskly. "And just to prove it, look here." She opened a package which she had deposited unnoticed on the kitchen table and displayed to the famished gaze of the girls. A capon, cleaned and cut up and ready for stewing, fresh green peas, shelled and attractive looking in their wooden container, and a box of strawberries. The girls crowed with delight as they devoured this tempting array with their eyes, and Helen wasted no time in preparing the chicken. Rose set about stemming the strawberries, but ate so many in the process that Margie, laughing, transferred her to the potato peeling, for, as she explained, they are not so tempting raw. "Your Miss Pepper must have given you a whole year's salary in advance, if you can throw money about so recklessly," Rose remarked, as she contentedly chewed the last strawberry she had filched from the box. "She gave me a week's advance," Margie admitted. "And when I stepped out of the house with all that money in my pocket, what do you suppose was the first thing I thought of?" "Food!" guessed Rose, and Helen laughed a little sadly. "How hard it would have been for us a year ago," she said, "to look forward to a time when we should know actual hunger. Anyway," she added cheerfully, "we appreciate a meal all the more when we do get one." After dinner, the girls became rather sober and thoughtful. It had occurred to neither Helen nor Rose, up to that time, that Margie's connection with Miss Pepper would mean the first break in their close trio. "I suppose your new employer will expect you to live with her?" questioned Helen, putting her thought into words. "A social secretary does, doesn't she?" Margie nodded, and there was a mistiness in her dark eyes. "That was one reason I didn't want to answer the ad," she owned. "It will be horribly lonesome in that big house, without any one of my own." "You will have Oliver," suggested Rose, deceiving no one by her flippancy. Margie chuckled and surreptitiously wiped her eyes. "Yes, I shall have Oliver," she agreed. "And now," she added, rising hastily and starting toward the bedroom, "I guess I'd better start packing. It won't take long," she added ruefully, thinking of her pitifully scanty wardrobe. The packing was done, the lights were out, and the two girls lay side by side in the big old-fashioned bed that had belonged to their mother. The noises of the street came to them faintly. The heat oppressed them so that they could hardly breathe, and suddenly they were frightened, appalled by the power and ruthlessness of the most fascinating and most terrifying city in the world. For a long time they lay quietly, staring into the dark. End of chapter 6.